Hello everybody, my name is Sergeant Shevonne Bramley and I'm actually a weapons technician in the Royal Air Force. A lot of people are always quite surprised to know that a female can actually do a job like weapons technician, but I've been doing this job for 30 years now, although currently I had the opportunity to move into recruiting, and it was something that was really quite important to me because I come from South London. I grew up in a council flat. I've got 3 sisters and 2 brothers. You know, it was a humble beginning, shall we say. I wanted to do something different. You know, I didn't want to do what everybody else in my class wanted to do. They all wanted to be hairdressers. A couple of people wanted to be models. My school wasn't particularly aspirational for women. And I wanted to do something different. So I wanted to join the RAF, be a weapons technician and do something that people told me I couldn't do. And here I am, 30 years later. So I had the opportunity, as I said, to move into recruiting about 5 years ago, I think it was. And it was something that I thought, actually, I can make a real difference here in a different way. I've played my part in the RAF in my main role, but now I could actually do something where it would give me the chance to get into different communities and actually explain about the opportunities that the RAF has. When I joined the RAF all those years ago, nobody in London really seemed to want to do that sort of thing. And that story is still the same today. Lots of people think that, oh no, RAF, it's full of white men with handlebar moustaches and they've all got ginger hair, and they say, what? And actually I haven't met anybody that says that, which is a little bit disappointing because it would have been quite funny. But no, it's a mix of a lot of different people from different backgrounds. And that's part of what's made it quite a journey and quite an enjoyable job, is that I've met so many different people from all sorts of walks of life. I've met people that are running their own companies on the side, you know, in their evenings and yet working for the RAF. I've met people from humble beginnings like myself, you know, from not very much money, and all doing a role that's actually quite important. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this was not only to spread the word to everybody, but in particular to some of those people in lower social mobility groups, some of those people that might think, well, I didn't do very well at school, that means I'm not very bright. It doesn't mean you're not very bright. It just means that school wasn't the right time for you. For some people, education at 15, 16, that's not the right time for them. They've got different things going on in their life, different ideas going through their head, and they're not always as receptive to that information that's coming across in schools. Whereas in a couple of years after that, or 5 years after that, somebody could show them something and they think, oh my gosh, that's really easy. In fact, it was something that happened to me. When I studied maths at school, I found trigonometry didn't make any sense at all. It didn't matter how many times my teacher explained it to me, I didn't get it. Some of my friends tried to explain it, I didn't get it. I thought it was magic. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And while I was in the RAF, probably about, I'm trying to remember now, about 6 or 7 years after I joined up, I did a promotion course where I had to do my BTEC, or ONC as it was then, in aeronautical engineering. And of course we had to do maths at that higher level. And my teacher stood there, I'll never forget him, we used to call him Mr. J. And he put this sum up on the board and I just went, oh my God, that's so easy. I can't believe I didn't get that at school. Why did I not get it? And he explained to me that difference in where you are in your own personal life when it comes to education and what a massive difference that makes. Needless to say, I came second in the class, beat most of the boys at maths, so there you go. One of my achievements that I'm actually really proud of is beating the boys in that maths class. So that's the thing, it's knowing that people can think to themselves at 14, 15, 16, 20, 25 that, well, I haven't really got any education, I don't really know anything, I can't really do anything. It's simply not true. you can do things. And one of the ways that you can do that is to join the RAF, because even if you come into one of our roles that need no formal qualifications whatsoever, we will put you through basic exams at the very beginning of your training, and you get that for free. So you can get the maths and English. You then go on, once you actually get into the RAF proper, and gain, you can do GCSEs. We get the opportunity, you can sit the exam for free, but also you can actually, you get some money towards learning about stuff. So if you didn't feel confident enough, you could sit a course, get money towards it, and actually gain a qualification. You might be somebody like me who then realises that actually education isn't that hard, providing you want it and you can concentrate on it. And I went on and I did a degree. Bearing in mind that I struggled through maths at school, I've got a degree in business and enterprise, and I got a distinction in it. And the RAF paid for most of that. So that's the sort of opportunities that I want to be able to tell people about. I want to be able to tell them that, oh my gosh, from that humble beginnings of at home, my two elder siblings didn't actually grow up with us. So there were 6 of us growing up together, and in the beginning I shared a bedroom with 2 of my sisters. My brother slept in the front room, 6 of us in a 2-bedroom flat. There was a lot of love and a lot of laughter, but not a lot of space, I can definitely tell you. And now I'm in the position, through the opportunities that the RAF have given me, and through some of my hard work as well. You know, it's not just down to the job, it's down to the work that I've put into it, that I'm now sat talking to you from actually my utility room, because I've been in a position where I've been able to afford to buy a 4-bedroom house. I've got 2 children. I've got my own car, which my kids hate, which is brilliant, because I earn my own money. You know, I'm married as well. I have to say my husband does put into this, and that's something that people are surprised about as well, that you can be married in the RAF, that you can grow children. Don't get me wrong, it really wasn't easy growing children with a full-time job in the RAF. But any mum will tell you that growing children simply isn't easy anyway, no matter how you do it. Whether you're a single mum, it's hard. Whether you're a working mum, it's hard. If you're home all day with your children and no adult conversation, it's hard. Doesn't matter how you do it. The important thing is that whatever you do, you just do it with all your heart. And so that's what I wanted to do, to tell people a bit about my story from my humble beginnings to where I am now, driving a little Mini as fast as I can around small roads that's bright yellow, because that's what I could buy with my own wages. And that's something that I've done, and those opportunities that I've had. But it's not just about the job, it's about the enjoyment that you get out of life. Sometimes people forget that whatever you do in a job, you're going to do it for so many days, years, you know, decades, for some people even longer. You've got to enjoy it. It's got to be something that you've got a bit of a passion for, that you want to get up in the morning and go out there, that it doesn't really feel like work. And a lot of the time, my job's really given me that. It's given me the opportunity to travel to lots of different places without having to put my hand in my pocket. So the first time I went to America, that was with work. And I went to a place called Yuma in Arizona. But it meant that on our weekends off, I got to go to San Diego, which was amazing. You know, I couldn't afford that on the money that I was earning at the time, but to go and do that with work and do it on my weekend off was just amazing, with some people that I worked with. We shared the driving, just got in a car and off we went. I've spent a lot of time in Italy, which is fantastic. You know, I've spent so much time in Italy, and I really love that country. It produces one of my favourite things, which is food. You can't go wrong. I've eaten some amazing things. I ate swordfish for the first time. I ate all sorts of different types of seafood, some of which I didn't even recognise. It was just great. The people are great. The weather's great. The scenery's great. The speeding fine I got wasn't so great, and I did have to pay that myself. But just a really lovely place. I lived in Cyprus for a couple of years. In fact, that's where I fell pregnant with my first child. So that's a story that I like to tell him, how he was conceived on top of Mount Troodos, which does make him laugh, I have to say, and a little bit squeamish, hoping that I won't tell anybody else about it. So that was a really good experience, some great friends there, lovely opportunity to be working out in the sunshine in a different environment and meeting all the great people that are in Cyprus, being able to go to northern Cyprus as well and see the Green Line, you know, all through work, an amazing opportunity. Probably one of my, actually difficult to say, two most favourite things that I'll tell you about. One has to be body surfing in Oman. Great thing to do because all you need is your own body, and provided you can keep yourself as flat as possible, hit the waves and off you go. Really good. And while we were doing that, there were dolphins coming in towards the shore. So to do that with work, having not paid for it on our 1 day off a week, I do have to say, that was the downside. It was amazing. Until somebody said, if there's dolphins, is there sharks? And then we had to get out of the water. But what an experience. Another one I'd like to mention is the fact that I tried bobsleighing for a while, and I did that with work. I went out to Lillehammer in Norway. It cost me £150 at the time, and did bobsleighing. I've been down the Olympic track. What they don't tell you is that you actually have to carry your bob from down the bottom all the way onto the truck to take it back up again, and it's rather heavy, and a lot of time actually polishing the rails that it slides down on. But what an amazing experience. Thought I was going to put my back out, I have to say, but 7G with nothing but a bit of sports kit, so nothing else protecting you apart from the muscles in your body, going at speed down this track. What an amazing experience to do, and to do that with work as well. You know, there have been some really tough times in my job, but they're balanced out by some of those great experiences. I went to another time when I was out in Oman, you know, I left 2 children at home, one of which was only 7, she hadn't turned 8 yet. And I cried and I cried. And because of our circumstances with work, we made the decision to put her into boarding school because we wanted to give her that stability of education. And our son was already in, and the school is lovely. But the boarding parents having to actually take her from my arms as I left this child is one of the things that will probably haunt me as a mother. However, I knew how important the work that I was doing was. And I left those 2 children and my husband holding the 4, a little bit worried, for 4 months on how they'd cope. And they did cope. Work was great. They went to Cadbury's World without me and ate lots of chocolate, and work paid for that. My husband had support networks so that if he got caught up at work, we had a network of people that would help out if we needed to for childcare on top of what we already had in place. I got free minutes so that I could video time because it was quite expensive then to do it. Luckily, we get a lot more free minutes now. You know, and I try not to cry when I got on the video calls to them. But on the opposite side of that, I had some great experiences. You know, standing on a pan, the actual airfield, and seeing in a C-17, which is quite a large aircraft and makes you feel really quite small when it comes towards you, was amazing. You know, spending some more time in Oman and spending time with the different people there, eating those different types of foods, going to the largest mosque in Muscat was, you know, a real experience. And you know, some really great people. The imam that worked on camp, you know, he still messages me, you know, 4 years later, which is really quite nice. And I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have that experience of those different cultures if it wasn't for the job that I do. Not to any depth of that. You know, I've played some really great sports, and some of them to not a particularly good level. Was terrible at netball, but it gave me the opportunity to do a little bit of travelling. So if the team was short, I'd volunteer. Why wouldn't you go and do something when it gives you an opportunity to try new things? I spent 3 years living in Germany. Again, a great country. There are so many fantastic countries out there. Germany, the German people really believe in family, so it's been great. I went to Germany before I had my children, but to be able to take the children back and let them experience what it was like when I was there, that real family feeling about the way the Germans do everything. You know, you can be a complete stranger and they'll come over and help you when you can't find anywhere to change your child because you can't remember what the word is for changing in German. You know, and somebody will just offer you something. You know, a lot of people would be really surprised about the experiences of the German people. You know, going to Koblenz and seeing the Rhine in flames, if you ever get the opportunity, it's the greatest festival of just people coming together, eating food, sharing what they've got, and watching fireworks across the river. Again, a great opportunity with work. So when you think that somebody can actually experience that, you know, from the age of 16 for some of our roles, without any formal qualifications, if that's where you're sat, with a degree, if that's where you're sat, through 60 different types of jobs that's got something for absolutely everybody, then I think that's a really great opportunity. The beauty is as well is when you join the RAF, from the day that you sign on the dotted line, you get paid. So when you know absolutely nothing on that first day, you get paid. They provide you with all the equipment that you need. Everything I've got on, apart from my underwear, was paid for by the RAF. So even if you don't have, you know, very much money, you could join. All the uniform is there, all the things that you need to learn about your job, it's there. Free education. You'll get one form of qualification or another out of doing your course, and a job. And not only that, our apprentices are paid about twice the amount that other apprenticeships out there are paying, and they're not guaranteed to have a job. You'll get subsidised accommodation and they won't charge you for that until after you've been paid. So you can do that. You can live in a single room for less than £200 a month, and that's your heating and lighting paid for, your water's paid for. They'll provide you with a bed. You know, if you don't want scratchy blankets, you know, you probably need to bring a quilt. But if you haven't, sometimes that you do get a quilt. And pillows you will get. And if you want something a bit better, then you can pay for that. But if you haven't got it, you've got a bed that's already there. There is somewhere for you to put your clothes. A fantastic opportunity, you know, for anybody of any walks of life. And people come into it from all different times in their life because, you know, our ages have gone up. Some of our full-time roles go up to 47. Some of our part-time, spare time roles, they go up to 55. So it's also been really nice. I've met some women that have had children, had thought about joining the RAF in their 30s and said, oh, you know, it's something I wish I did. And I said, but you can do it now. There's nothing stopping you other than, you know, a bit of work probably on fitness. You do have to pass the fitness test, but we'll give you some tools to work on that. You know, I can give you some tips right now. If you can do one press up in the morning, one good press up is a start. And then you just work up from there. It's like anything. Practice, practice, practice. It's the same with everything throughout life. That's what I have to do. I still have to take my fitness test. But this one lady, she just went, really? And I stood talking to her for probably about 40 minutes. And she went off with a real smile on her face that she can actually achieve a goal that she had as a child that she thought she couldn't do, and she can do it now. You know, that sense of how happy she was, that made me feel really good. you know, I spoke to a group of young children at a careers fair that I did, and one of the boys sat there. They were listening intently. They needed to move on. It was a speed fair, and they really wanted to talk. And I said, please, just let me finish with them. They were so engaged. They had no idea that they could join the RAF. And this one young guy, he was looking at me and he went, so what about some of the people that have had a brush with the law? Not his words. And I said, that's the thing. There is the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act that lots of people simply aren't aware of. But depending on what you've done, you know, those sentences can be spent. And once it's spent, with the exception of a handful of roles out of the 60 we have, you don't have to tell us about it. Which means something that you do when you're younger doesn't have to affect you for the rest of your life. Now, bearing in mind that Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, it's there for everybody. It's not just about joining the RAF. And the more people that know about that, the better. Don't let something as silly as stealing a lipstick from Superdrug when you're at school define the rest of your life. You can move on from that, and it's important to recognise that. You know, and we do, as a society. I once worked with a guy who'd got into some trouble with the police when he was young. He was a little bit of a Jackner lad, you know, he was out there, you know, I'm the big I am, and you'll always find somebody bigger than you. And he ended up in a bit of trouble. And his social worker actually said to him, if you carry on the way you're going, you're going to go to prison. Join the military. And he joined the RAF. And he's a physical training instructor, really great guy. He's married, you know, and he will say to people, if it wasn't for the RAF, I'd probably be in prison. You know, the fact that we can make that much difference to somebody's life is amazing. But not just us, it's got to take the hard work from you as well. You know, it's not easy when you have to sit there. You've been in lessons from 8:30 until 5 o'clock, because that's more or less our school day. And you go back in the evening after you've had dinner, which again is subsidised, so at least that's, you know, less money being spent. And you think, right, I've got about an hour relaxing, and then I've got to hit the books because I need to pass this exam. But you're getting paid for it. You know, how much better that can be? How much better would kids do if they were getting paid at school? I'm not too sure, you know. Just that great opportunity, and to be able to share that with young people in all sorts of different ways. So for me, it's not about telling the people that know about the RAF. It's about telling the people that don't know. It's about those young people in schools who've never heard of the RAF, who don't live near an RAF base, about the opportunities that we have. But it's not just them. It's about those adults that they come into contact with, those faith leaders, those community support workers, whether they're involved in some sort of youth group, if they're involved in something like Kick Off at 3, one of the charities that we work with, the Violent Crime Prevention Board, another charity that we work with. You know, there are lots of them out there that are doing work with young people. So some of those adults need to know about those opportunities that are out there. Some of the questions that people may have. I'm a vegetarian. Is the RAF going to cater for that? Yes, they are, much to my regret, because I'm a meat lover. But they will cater for you. I don't eat dairy. What happens there? Well, a lot of the time we can cater for that as well. Sometimes you might just have to go without milk, but the majority of the time they'll cater for you. We have our own chefs, so they know all about this. They're educated in that sort of thing. What about my religion? You know, if you're in the military, surely you can't be religious. But, you know, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I'm Church of England, High Church of England, so almost Catholic, you know, and I take my faith with me wherever I go. For me, in my personal faith, God put me here for a purpose, and the difference that I've been able to make to people's lives is the reason why I do it. So I need to be able to say, I want to give thanks. There are times when, you know, I want to celebrate the birth of Jesus. I want to celebrate, you know, his rising. So we have the ability to do that. We have churches, we have vicars, we have imams, we have them so that people can still celebrate their faith even though they're part of the RAF. It's really important that we look at the whole person and not just the bit that actually carries out the job, because in order to do what you're doing, you need to be well fed, you need to feed your mind, and if that means through education, religion, whatever it is, you can even get involved through our education centres. You can even do some mind and body work, they run some yoga classes that you can get involved with for a really small fee and learn that sort of thing. First aid classes, mental first aid classes. It's all about that whole person that we try and look after. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not for everybody. It's like any job out there. I couldn't be a nurse. I just couldn't deal with that amount of blood, or sick. Just couldn't cope with it. So, there are jobs that are out there that really aren't for everybody. But it doesn't stop me admiring the people that do those jobs. And the same with the RAF. So although this may not be for you, there are some of the things that I will have said today, you'll think, well, I don't think that's right, but I know somebody who would absolutely love it. Spread the word. If we help one person today find what they truly enjoy, then for me, I go to bed a happy person. It really is what it's all about. So I hope you found something interesting in what I've had to say today. And thank you very much for listening.